Your website is definitely fluid. It should never be looked at as a static brochure, but it's an interactive tool that your leads are going to use to vet you. In other words, when a lead finds your website, they're shopping by process of elimination. So they're trying to cross you off the list. So the most important thing from a design standpoint is to keep them on your site, get them to go deeper. I like to use the analogy, AG, is like if you walk into a store, and if you walk into that store and you look around and you're like, oh, there's nothing here that I like, and you walk out, that's the same thing as like a bounce. Today in Conversations That Convert, we're continuing our conversation on how to stop getting skipped, how AI search is reshaping the building industry. And today we'll be talking about website development for AI visibility. Let's get started.
Welcome to Conversations That Convert. Each week, Rick teams up with industry experts to tackle practical strategies in lead generation, marketing, and sales for remodelers and custom builders. From practical tips to deep industry insights, we cover everything you need to grow a stronger, smarter business. Brought to you by Builder Lead Converter, your perfect sales assistant.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Conversations That Convert. Thank you so much for joining us today. Our show again today is how to stop getting skipped, how AI search is reshaping the building industry. And we have a very special guest today. We have AG on, who is our lead website developer at Builder Lead Converter. AG, welcome to Conversations That Convert.
Thank you for having me, Rick. Good afternoon. Hello.
And AG, you've been with, how long have you worked for us now? Has it been,
It's been 3 years, last May.
3 years? Look at that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 3 years. And so you primarily work on all of our websites after they're designed, but give the audience a quick overview about what your role and what you do here.
I develop the websites for onboarding clients, from getting what is approved on the mockup to transforming in actual pages.
So we have 4 different people that work on our websites. You're typically number 2 after the design is approved by the clients.
Correct.
So we start with a mock-up, very much like if you're working with an architect or an architectural designer, and you start with a mock-up concept plan, if you will, and then your client approves it, and then you move into more of a architectural developer or somebody that's going to go through and dot the I's and cross the T's. So you're building the guts of the website. So I guess the good news for you, or maybe the bad news, AG, is that you kind of have to know a little bit about everything, right? You got to know about design, you got to know about development, you got to know about search visibility, and you have to know about performance and maintenance and all that good stuff.
Yes, correct. And servers, because I also responsible for actually launching the website. So the server side, DNS, domains, all that.
Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts here, and it's when we start partnering with the builder, we often will see what their current setup is, and there's more often than not issues that we have to fix as part of this rebuild process. But let's get into it and talk a little bit more about what you do. I guess we're going to start with security and reliability as the first step, and I call this like some of the basics, some of the foundational things. But what are some of the initial things you're looking at as you develop this site related to security and reliability?
To security, I have to give kudos to SiteGround. They do a lot of the server side blocking of outside access. So their security is pretty solid. And on our side, we make sure that the website has a good firewall blocking access from people trying to get in and certain malware on the website. We have to prevent code running from the uploads folder, for example. So when we start the development, we always start with WordFence, setting up properly. Checking.
And WordFence is it's a plugin for WordPress, which is what we're building the site
WordFence is a security plugin for it deals with the access, with all the access that they tried on the website, and also firewall.
Yep. And SiteGround, that is a website hosting platform we recommend. We try to keep all of our clients on it. As you mentioned, they do a great job on security. I think the imperative thing here, as I try to convey to builders, is that you need to build the site assuming that it's do everything possible to keep it from getting hacked, but
Hmm.
also build it so that if it does get hacked, you can quickly get a backup running and have your site functioning again, so you're not down for days, or worst case scenario, you lose a lot of the content on your site, which I
Hmm.
guess leads us to updates and backups, once the site is built.
Yes, we set up another plugin to run daily backups and saving not on the hosting, but outside in a separate server in a cloud, so we can have easy access if something goes wrong.
So there's the server that is hosting the site on SiteGround as a backup, and then we do another backup besides that. So worst case scenario is it's a Wednesday, you get hacked, and now what you can do is you have a backup for Tuesday, and you can just put the backup back on in another secure environment, and you haven't lost anything you've done. Versus if you only update once a month, if you made a bunch of updates between the last update when you got hacked, you lose all the
Yes,
challenge
correct.
here.
And even if we do it, I like weekly, for example, we can have problems on losing with
Mm-hmm.
clients that updates the site regularly.
Yep. Which you should do, right? At a minimum, we're going to update it with our SEO work,
Hmm.
once or twice or up to four times a month, depending on what we're doing. But yeah, a lot of
That's
times
true.
it's like, oh, I added a new photo gallery or change this or add this. And yeah, that's stuff that it's hard to, I should say, reconfigure if you lose the
Hmm.
content. You're trying to remember like,
It's
oh,
true.
what did I do or how did I do it?
Especially with
Yeah.
clients with properties that they are constantly updated. It's good to
Mm-hmm.
have the last version.
Yep. All right, so next thing we look at is the Google and search setup. But what are some of the things you're doing there as you're going through the development process?
We connect the we connect to Google Search Console. We've been using also GTM to load the Google Analytics tag, also the Google Ads tag, and also configure all the events that we want to send to analytics.
And an event, how would you define an event?
We have some different events set up that we can track. They're mostly about page view, which page are were viewed by the user, the percentage that the user scroll in the page. If it's past 50% or past 75%, we track that as well. Events as form submission. After a client submits a form, we get an event. And then also
Mm-hmm.
another one that we did recently is when the users schedule their appointment. So two different events are sent to
Yep. Yep.
analytics.
So events are simply like an analytic that you want to track from a KPI standpoint. It really helps you determine how did the lead get to your website, and then once they got to your website, what did they do, and then ultimately, if you're running ad campaigns, did that campaign produce a result? And that result's typically I captured a lead. And then for us, we're always focused on the conversion. Did
Mm-hmm.
that captured lead actually book an appointment?
It's true.
That's the suite. So our baton handoff, I say, with is the summer. I can't remember. Is the Summer Olympics happening this year?
No, 2 years from now. Right now, it's the World Cup.
It is okay. So I'm always thinking about in the Summer Olympics they have like the 4x100, where you've got the fastest people in the world, and it's so critical to have that baton handoff. And there's just milliseconds that matter there that will take you from being in first place to last place. And that's
Mm-hmm.
where that's our baton handoff, is that we hand off once that appointment is booked, we get that appointment to the builder, and then the builder will really take it over from there, from the sales
Mm-hmm.
process. So our goal is to track everything up to that appointment booking so that we can optimize those workflows and that journey. What else are we doing now with Google and search setup on your development process, AG?
I'm sorry, Ricky, you broke out. Can you please repeat again the question?
Oh yeah, what else are we doing with Google and our search setup as it relates to that development process?
We do the schema for the website that has all the information about the company on our SEO plugin that we use that is RankMath. We set up local SEO when we fill out the information that is going to be displayed on your Google business profile. So it's
Mhm.
important there to have matching information. It's something that we always look for before we launch a website. And we set up all the pages when you search on Google and you find your website, and below you have your about us or contact page. Those are pages are set up when we are configuring rank math to for the correct page. So instead of just having your website listed as a search result, you'll get more information on how to access the website, the pages that are there. And the other thing for schema that we work on is the fact section. That is very important to have on the schema a setup that is understandable by Google so he can crawl it and then organize and display it when users search with a question, for example.
The FAQ section. And I think that it's so important as you look at your Google business profile, is there's several different types of companies that you can be listed as. So you can be a general contractor, you can be a home builder, you can be a remodeler.
Mm-hmm.
So what Google is looking for from an authoritativeness standpoint is they want to see consistency.
Mm-hmm.
So your Google business profile would be what's called a citation. It's like in the old days where we had white pages or yellow pages and you would open up the phone book. And now instead of having just one area like a phone book to go to, I think we have close to 70 different citations. These are online business directories. And so in order to create
Mm-hmm.
authoritativeness for you as a builder is that all that information has to be consistent, starting with your website and then going out from there, including your socials and Google business profiles. So,
Yeah, Google
what we do on
goes.
the site is important. It matches.
Yeah, that's a very important issue, Rick. We make sure that all the information about this client is corrected, it's matching to try to really build that the confidence in the whole Google system and display you as a good.
Yep, absolutely. And of course, the analytics is something that's always ongoing in the background. And again, analytics is primarily how they found you and then what pages were most visited. And then we use another tool called Microsoft Clarity, which is
Mhm.
it's a nice tool that it heat maps your visitors on your website. Once they're there, you can see what they're looking at, and then we use that to sort of every 90 days we like to update the site
Mhm.
based on how your leads are using it, so we can customize it some more.
On 90 days, we have audits when we see
Mhm.
how the website is performing, and we update the siting accordingly based on the metrics to improve the website.
It brings me a good point I want to reinforce is that a lot of builders think that I build my website and it's done. Your website is definitely fluid. It should
Mhm.
never be looked at as a static brochure, but it's an interactive tool that your leads are going to use to vet you. In other words, when a lead finds your website, they're shopping by process of elimination. So they're trying to cross you off the list. So the most important thing from a design standpoint is to keep them on your site, get them to go deeper.
Mhm.
I like to use the analogy, AG, is like if you walk into a store and if you walk into that store and you look around and you're like, oh, there's nothing here that I like, and you walk out, that's the same thing as like a bounce where you
Mhm.
land on that one page on the website, homepage, you look around going, well, I can't get the information I need here, and you leave and you go to a competitor.
Mhm.
Versus if you walk in that store and go, oh, there's a section that I want, that's what I was looking for, and you were able to go right to it. One of the things we look at a website is that when they get to your homepage or really any page, can they get to the information they're after in one click? It's got to be very simplistic, and the content has to be very easy to read, not only for your lead, but also for the search engine and then, of course, the AI bots
Mhm.
as well. Which leads us to one of the issues we find with a lot of sites, and that's links and redirects. I know you do a lot of work, or we do an
Mhm.
analysis on broken links, but tell us what that looks like.
When developing the website, something that our page builders enable us is to work on the links dynamically. So instead of putting the link like hashtag contact, hashtag for the contact page, for example, we go and call it dynamically as a page content and then select contacts. The difference in this is if later we decided to change the contact page to contact us, and with that, changing the URL of the page instead of /contact us. If we put it manually, we were going to have to go in all the links that had that and had to update it to match the new page URL. Doing dynamically with the page builder, what we can do is, if we decided to change later that page URL, it already automatically updates all the buttons and links in the page to that certain page. So with that, we'd minimize the problems with broken links with the website going forward for the new clients onboarding. But something that we do before we start, we use tools like SEMrush or Screaming Frog that crawls the website and find all the missing links. But the missing links, it can be a page, but it also can be an image. So with those tools, we can crawl a website and get a perfect picture of how it is built, how it was built, and if we have problems regarding that image that we have to work on when designing the new website.
I would call this the invisible enemy that a lot of you can't see it. But what happens is that if you have a whole lot of broken links or even a whole lot of 301 redirects, it makes it very, very challenging for Google to be able to clearly see the information on your website. And also, it impacts your trustworthiness because you have all these broken links out of there. And so a website that has a lot of these, you're going to be downgraded when it comes to search visibility, for traditional search and AI. So they want something that looks like it's a high authoritative resource for kitchen remodeling, custom home building, what have you. It's trustworthy, everything's consistent, it's very clean, and also performance. And this is, I know, as we build the website and some of the things that you've mentioned, AG, is really based on, so when we get the site launched and we go to page load speed, which is Google's tester, that we're performing 90 or above. Google grades you on a scale of 0 to 100. So 90 or above, both on the desktop and mobile site. And if you have that on both of them, you're going to be very visible for search, and the AI bots also like that as well. You also mentioned, I guess the last thing here, I think we'll probably talk about, one of the last things is privacy policy. So every site that we build, we put a privacy policy on there. But why do we do that?
We put the privacy policy so we can meet legal requirements for site tracking and the information that we collect using the contact forms, and how we manage that information, if it's undisclosure or where we put it. How can the user can contact us, not us, but the website responsible or the company behind the website, to remove their name for the database, for example. So we have to disclosure all the information, the person responsible for that contact, so they can reach out and request the removal if they see necessary.
Privacy policies are more or less, if you are going to capture a lead on your website, you need to have a privacy policy. It tells the lead and any governing authority, this is what we do with the information, this is what we don't do with the information, and if you need to contact an administrator, this is how you do it. I'm oversimplifying a multi-page document with a lot of legalese, but that's the reason why you got to have one. All right, so let's go talk a little bit about citations and AI citations and EEAT. That's something that we work a lot with as we're building websites. But tell us a little bit more about what is EEAT and how you incorporate it as part of the development process.
AT stands for expertise, authority, and trustworthiness. I think it has to do with something that we talked about here. Make sure all the information it's matching what else is there on the web. For example, Instagram, Facebook, or it really needs to match the company names and everything. And I don't know what else, Rick, if you need to deeper.
That's fine. So one of the acronym, and the other E is experience. So you have expertise, experience, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. So as you structure the website and you build it out and you make it visible for AI, that's what you're trying to do. Is you're trying to increase the authority score. In other words, when Google looks at your site, AI bots look at your site, they look at you as you have a high authority score. And that authority score is comprised of what is your experience for this search query? So again, let's use the search query of, say, kitchen remodelers in your local area. What is your expertise? What is your authoritativeness and also trustworthiness? So EEAT. So having a clear summarization, the Q&A format, you mentioned the FAQs, that's important there, as well as structured data, and we get into some of the back end things as you're doing that. And I think that kind of leads us to probably the end of our conversation here for development. But when it comes down to what are we doing beyond keywords and to create, I guess the terminology is structural purity within the website. But what are some of the dot the I and cross the T things that we do, AG?
One thing that we've been using recently that it's giving us pretty good results. It's right now with AI, kind of like when we created a website, we have a document called robots.txt. Most all websites have that instructs the crawlers of what to look into. And right now, in the era of AI, we have another document that we include on the website that is llm.txt, when it's basically the titles and descriptions of the pages that we put as SEO. He creates a text file with all that information created specifically for AIs to look to get that information about your website. So right now, if you search on Google about a company, AI summary might come up, and that AI summary comes with the crawler looking at that information on the llms.txt file and bring it up to the user. So in that file, we can work on the authority of the company, the history, and everything. And when the user search for that company on Google, you will show them a history of the company, what does it do, and everything else that comes with it.
So more to your authoritativeness. And the note that I have here is that think of the physical craftsmanship of one of your homes that you're building or remodeling projects, and think of your quality assurance checklist that you go through in order to make sure that the project is ready to be delivered to the homeowner. Your website structural purity is very similar to that. It's all the way that's built, the quality assurance to make sure the website is performing up to standards. That's some of the things that Google is going to look at. And you say the LLM, that stands for large language models, so that's more of an AI terminology. That's what they're all based on. But yeah, you've got to match that. As good as your website looks to the user, and the inside, or in other words, the guts of that website, it has to look good to Google and the AI bots. AG, this has been awesome. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your expertise. I guess I should leave it with this. When you started working for us 3 years ago, we had maybe one person building a site, and today now we have 4. We've got the designer, you're the developer, then we've got the SEO specialist, AIO specialist, and then we've got more the performance maintenance, a technician once the site is launched in order to think of Formula One racing, right? You've got your pit crew. So you come in from doing laps, and then the pit crew make sure the car continues to perform. And that's what you have to do with your website now, really weekly, to make sure it's performing correctly. Because if it's not, guess what? You start to lose on your authoritativeness goes down, and then you're going to being seen less and less in search visibility. So again, AG, thanks so much for being a guest on today. Thank you for listening to Conversations That Convert. If you would like to know more how we can help you attract, capture, and convert high quality leads so you too can pick and choose your clients and jobs, go ahead and just use that schedule a call link right below here. I'd be happy to learn more about your company and see if we might be able to help you. For my brothers and sisters in Christ, may the grace of the Lord Jesus Christ, the love of God, and the fellowship of the Holy Spirit be with you all always. See you next time on Conversations.